It wasn't a tranquilizer dart, and it wasn't a virus that broke the strongest creature in the sanctuary. It was a simple bottle of lemon detergent. For 7 days, Kobo, a 400-pound silverback, has refused to eat or drink. He is sitting in the corner of his cage, waiting to die. Why? Because the zoo staff decided to do him a favor. They took his favorite dirty blanket, washed it, and gave it back to him brand new. They thought they were cleaning up a mess. But as Kobo faded away, the desperate keepers examined the blanket one last time. That's when they felt something strange sewn inside the lining. A hard lump that the washing machine hadn't been able to destroy. What they pulled out of that hidden pocket didn't just explain Kobo's grief. It made the entire staff wish they had cut off their own hands rather than touch that blanket. Before you watch, remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss another touching story like this one. And write in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. Kobo was dying because of a blanket. Not just any blanket, a dirty, tattered sky blue rag that he'd carried for over 10 years. It was covered in mud, straw, and stains. It smelled terrible, a mixture of musk, mildew, and wet earth. To visitors, it looked like trash. Why don't they take that filthy thing away from him? Tourists would complain. It's disgusting. But Kobo never let it go. He slept with it bunched under his head. He draped it over his massive shoulders like a cape. During thunderstorms, he'd pull it over his head and rock back and forth, sucking on the corner of the fabric like a child with a security blanket. No one on the current staff knew where it came from. It had just always been there. Part of Kobo, like his silver fur or his deep-set eyes. It went beyond simple comfort. The staff had noticed peculiar behaviors over the years. Kobo would groom the blanket as if it were a living thing, carefully picking off imaginary bugs with his thick fingers. Before he ate, he would place the blanket on a high rock, ensuring it never touched the messy fruit on the floor. It wasn't just an object to him, it was a companion. A silent friend that he treated with a reverence usually reserved for infants. Then came the change in management. A new zoo director was appointed, a man obsessed with sterilization and modernizing the facility's image. "It looks like a dump in there," the director said during his first inspection, pointing at Kobo. "That animal is dragging around a biohazard. I can smell it from here. Get rid of it." Thomas, who had cared for Kobo for 5 years, tried to argue. "Sir, you can't take it. It's his comfort object. If we take it, he will destabilize." "He's an animal, Thomas," the director replied coldly. "He's not a child. Give him a new blanket, a clean one. He won't know the difference. But get that filthy rag out of my zoo." The order was final. The operation took place on a Monday. They knew they couldn't just grab it. Kobo would tear them apart. So they waited for his annual medical checkup. The dart hit Kobo's thigh. The giant slumped into a deep sleep. While the vets checked his teeth and his heart, Thomas was given the job he hated most. He had to pry the blanket from Kobo's sleeping grip. Even unconscious, Kobo fought them. His fist was locked tight around the fabric. It took Thomas and 2 other assistants to peel back the silverback's fingers, one by one. The muscle tension was incredible. It felt like robbing a bank vault. When the last finger finally released, Kobo's hand twitched in his sleep, grasping at empty air, as if his subconscious already knew he had been robbed. When he finally pulled the blanket free, he was hit by the smell. It was awful. Ancient dirt and grime. "Burn it?" the intern asked. "No," Thomas said, feeling a strange sense of guilt. "Just wash it. Industrial cycle, bleach, hot water, make it look new. We'll give it back to him before he wakes up." They threw the blanket into the massive industrial washing machine. They poured in the bleach. They pressed start. As the water turned brown and then gray, Thomas watched the machine spin. He didn't know it yet, but he was washing away the only thing keeping Kobo alive. When Kobo woke up, he was groggy. He sat up in the recovery cage, shaking his head. Immediately, his hand reached out. He was looking for it. His fingers brushed against the floor. Nothing. Panic flared in his dark eyes. He let out a sharp, questioning grunt. Thomas quickly slid the blanket through the bars. "Here, buddy. It's right here. See? Good as new." The blanket was bright blue again. It was soft. It smelled of lemons and sterile cotton. Kobo grabbed it. He brought it to his face instantly, inhaling deeply, expecting that familiar comforting scent of musk and earth. He froze. He sniffed again. Deeper. Then he sniffed a different corner. He stopped. He looked at the blanket with confusion, then with horror. He dropped it as if it were burning him. He looked at Thomas through the bars. It was a look of pure betrayal. Then he picked up the clean blanket and threw it into the corner of the cage. He turned his back. And he sat down. That was 7 days ago. Since that moment, Kobo hadn't eaten. He hadn't drunk water. He was protesting in the only way he knew how, by fading away. The deterioration was heartbreaking to watch. On day 3, a younger male gorilla tried to approach Kobo to play. Usually, Kobo would engage or gently scold him. This time, Kobo didn't even blink. He stared right through him, a ghost in his own body. On day 5, a thunderstorm rolled in. Thunder had always terrified Kobo. It was the time he needed his blanket the most. Thomas watched on the monitors, hoping Kobo would grab the clean blue fleece for comfort. But he didn't. He sat in the pouring rain, shivering, unprotected, refusing to touch the imposter blanket. He preferred the cold rain to the fake comfort of that sterile cloth. "He's going to die, isn't he?" the intern asked, breaking the silence of the primate house. Thomas rubbed his face. "He's grieving. We erased his memory. I don't understand why he was so attached to that specific blanket. We've given him toys before and he destroys them. Why this one?" Thomas unlocked the service door. "I'm going to get it," he said. "I need to examine it. Maybe there's something we missed." Thomas retrieved the rejected, clean blanket from the cage, while Kobo ignored him completely. Back in the keeper's office, Thomas laid the blue fabric out on the table under the bright inspection light. It was just a cheap fleece blanket. He ran his hands over it. It was lumpy in places, the fabric thinned by years of use. He pressed his palms against every inch, feeling for lumps of matted fur or hidden thorns. The washing machine had flattened it out, revealing contours that were previously hidden by grime. Then his fingers brushed against one of the corners. It felt thicker than the rest. He frowned. He felt it again. There was something inside the hem. Not just fabric. Something solid, a square object, sewn shut inside the layers of fleece. His heart started beating faster. "Pass me the scissors," Thomas said quietly. The intern handed him a pair of heavy-duty fabric scissors. Thomas positioned them carefully at the edge of the hem, where the stitching looked different. Hand-sewn, not machine-made. The thread was a slightly different shade of blue, as if someone had tried to match it years ago but couldn't find the exact color. Someone had deliberately hidden something here. With trembling hands, he carefully snipped the threads. The sound of the scissors cutting through fabric seemed deafening in the quiet room. Each snip revealed more of the hidden pocket inside. He reached inside with 2 fingers. He felt plastic. Something sealed. Something protected from the washing machine, from years of mud and rain. He pulled out a small plastic Ziploc bag. It had been sealed tight, folded over twice, and wrapped in layers of tape. Whoever had placed this here had wanted to make absolutely certain nothing would damage it. Inside the bag was a photograph and a small square of pink cloth. Thomas's hands shook as he peeled back the old tape and opened the seal. He took the photo out. It was an old Polaroid, faded by time but still clear. It showed a young girl, maybe 7 years old, with bright golden hair and pigtails tied with pink ribbons. She wore a pink dress and was sitting on the ground outside an enclosure, laughing with pure joy. And wrapped around her shoulders was this exact blue blanket. Next to her, reaching through the bars to gently touch her hair, was a younger, massive Kobo. Thomas felt his throat tighten. He turned the photo over. On the back, written in black marker in a child's careful handwriting, were the words, "Sarah and Kobo, best friends forever. 2014. His knees went weak. The second item was a small square of pink fabric, a piece carefully cut from a dress. The same pink dress from the photograph. Thomas stared at the items in his hands, his mind racing. He grabbed the sanctuary's archive files, thick binders from before he started working there. He flipped through pages frantically until he found the history of the previous director, Robert Matthews. He'd had a daughter, Sarah. Thomas found the handwritten daily logs, June 12, 2014. Sarah's condition has worsened. She insisted on visiting Kobo before her next treatment. She's so brave. Kobo sat with her for an hour, pressing his palm against the glass where her hand was. When it was time to go, she cried. She told Kobo she was scared. July 3, 2014. Sarah passed away this morning. She was 8 years old. Kobo knows something is wrong. He sits by the glass, waiting for her. July 10, 2014. Sarah left instructions. She wanted Kobo to have her blanket, something to remember her by. I cut a piece from her favorite pink dress and sealed it with her photo inside the blanket's hem. Then I gave it to Kobo. He brought it to his face and made a sound I'd never heard before, low and mournful. He finally understood. He hasn't let it go since. A newspaper clipping was stapled to the last page. Sanctuary owner's daughter passes away from leukemia, age 8. Thomas stared at the piece of pink cloth in his hand. The blanket hadn't just been dirty. The dirt, the musk, the years of grime. They had trapped a scent. Deep in the fibers, under the mud, was the faint, lingering scent of the little girl he had loved. By cleaning the blanket, by bleaching it and scrubbing it with lemon detergent, they hadn't just removed the dirt. They had washed away Sarah. For 10 years, Kobo had been hugging that blanket because it was the only thing he had left of her. He had been protecting her memory. And now, she was gone. Thomas started to cry. He didn't care who saw him. He walked back to the cage, holding the photo in the small square of pink fabric that had been protected inside the plastic bag. It was the only thing that hadn't been washed. It still held a faint trace of the past. "Kobo," Thomas whispered. The gorilla didn't move. Thomas pressed the photo and the pink cloth against the glass. "Look, I'm sorry, look." Kobo turned his head slowly. His eyes were dull. Then he saw the pink cloth. He moved. For the first time in a week, he moved quickly. He scrambled to the glass on all fours, his breath fogging up the pane. He pressed his nose against it, right where the pink fabric was. He couldn't smell it through the glass, but he recognized it. He recognized the girl in the photo. Thomas slipped the photo and the small cloth through the feeding slot. Kobo picked them up with his massive trembling fingers. He held them as if they were made of smoke, terrified they might disappear. He brought the pink cloth to his nose. He sniffed. It was faint, almost gone, but it was there. The scent of the little girl. Kobo let out a sound that broke the hearts of everyone watching. It wasn't a roar. It was a long, high-pitched whimper. He sat down. He placed the photo on his knee, staring at it. Then he took the pink cloth and pressed it gently to his lips. He picked up the clean blue blanket, and carefully, with the precision of a surgeon, he tucked the photo and the cloth back into the folds. He wrapped the blanket around himself. It wasn't the same. It never would be again. But he had a piece of her back. 10 minutes later, Kobo reached out and took a banana. He ate it slowly, staring at the photo. In the weeks after, Kobo's routine changed. Every morning, he would unwrap the blanket and check the photo, making sure Sarah was still there. Then he'd tuck it back and drape the blanket over his shoulders like a cape. The zoo installed a plaque beside his enclosure. In memory of Sarah Matthews, 2006 to 2014, who taught us that love transcends species. Visitors would read it with tears in their eyes, and Kobo, who'd been solitary for years, would sometimes press his palm to the glass when children visited. The director never complained about the blanket again. The staff mounted a copy of Sarah's photo on the wall of Kobo's enclosure, so he would never have to worry about losing her. It was a harsh lesson. We try to sanitize everything to make it clean and perfect. But sometimes the most important things in life aren't clean. Love is messy, grief is messy, and sometimes a dirty old blanket is worth more than all the soap in the world. Did you enjoy this story? After seeing how Kobo carried Sarah's memory for 11 years, do you believe animals remember their loved ones just like we do? Yes or no? Let us know in the comments below. If you like the story, subscribe to this channel and leave a like. Thanks so much for listening. See you in the next video. Have a great day.